was a cold and rainy night. Cars passed by quickly, their lights flashing on the wet roads. People walked fast, holding umbrellas, trying not to get wet. No one noticed the poor girl standing near the door of a fancy restaurant. She had no umbrella, no coat, and no shoes. Her dress was old and torn. Her hair was wet and her lips were shaking, but she didn't move. She stood there holding a small box tightly in her hands. It was the only thing she had, a small jewelry box her mother gave her before she died. Inside the box was a beautiful ring, not a diamond ring, not made of gold, but it was full of memories. It had a little message hidden under the lid. Her mother had written it years ago. Give this to someone who truly needs hope. The girl didn't know who that person was. But tonight, something felt different. She had been standing there for almost 2 hours. Then, she looked through the glass of the restaurant window. There, at the corner table, sat a young man in a black suit. He looked rich, maybe the richest person in that place. But he didn't look happy. He didn't talk to anyone. He didn't eat the food in front of him. He just looked down at the table, tears slowly falling from his eyes. No one went to him. The waiters stayed away. The other guests whispered but didn't help. Even though he was a billionaire, he looked completely alone. The girl felt something in her heart. Her feet moved before she could think. She opened the restaurant door slowly. People stared. The manager shouted, "Hey, you can't come in here like that." But the girl didn't stop. She walked straight to the man's table. Her dress was soaked, her feet muddy. She looked like a ghost from the street. But the young man looked up, and for a moment he didn't say a word. Their eyes met. Something in her gaze stopped him. She gently placed the box in front of him. "You don't know me," she said softly, her voice shaking. "But someone told me to give this to a person who needs it more than I do." The man didn't answer. His hand slowly reached for the box. He opened it and saw the ring. At first he didn't understand, but then he noticed a small paper folded beneath it. He picked it up, unfolded it, and read. His hands began to shake. His eyes widened. And then, more tears came. But these tears were not like before. These were heavier, deeper. The girl stood there silently. She didn't ask for anything. She just looked at him with calm, gentle eyes. He looked back at her and whispered, Where did you get this?" The girl took a step back. "It was my mother's. She worked in many places. She always said, and someday this ring will find its way back to someone who needs it." The young billionaire tried to stand but dropped back into his seat. He held the note tightly, as if it was the last thing in the world he needed to protect. "Your mother," he said slowly. "Was her name Anna?" The girl's eyes widened. "Yes, Anna Thomas." Suddenly the man covered his face with his hands. His body trembled. The restaurant went quiet. No one understood what just happened. But something had changed in that moment. The girl didn't know why he cried so hard after reading the note. She didn't know what was written in it that could make a billionaire break down like this. But she knew in her heart she had done the right thing. Without saying another word, she turned and walked back outside into the rain. Behind her, the man clutched the box to his chest, like it was more valuable than anything he owned. What did the note say? What secret did the ring carry? Why did a poor girl have something that could bring a rich man to his knees? No one knew yet, but this was only the beginning. Rain kept falling as the girl walked away from the restaurant. Her clothes were soaked and her feet were cold, but her heart felt warm. She didn't know why, but she believed the ring had found its rightful place. Inside the restaurant, the young billionaire sat frozen. The small paper in his hand was shaking. His eyes stared at the words again and again, as if he didn't believe what he was reading. The note said, "To the one who feels lost even with everything. This ring belonged to your mother. She told me one day you would need it more than the world. If you are reading this, she was right. Please forgive the past and remember who you are. Anna T." His hands tightened around the paper. The name, at the end, Anna T. hit him like a storm. Anna was the maid who worked in his house when he was just a child. She was kind, quiet, and always smiling. He remembered her clearly now. She used to hum old songs while folding laundry. She used to tell him bedtime stories when his parents were too busy. But one day she was gone. No goodbye, no reason. Just gone. He was told she had stolen something from the house and had been fired. He was too young to ask questions, but he never forgot her face. Now, years later, her name was here, in a note inside a ring, delivered by a poor girl who claimed to be her daughter. The billionaire leaned back in his chair, breathing heavily. His chest ached with memories he hadn't thought about in years. He whispered, "Anna, why did you leave?" He called his driver, rushed outside and looked around for the girl, but the street was empty. The girl had disappeared into the night. He checked the security cameras from the restaurant, but they only showed her walking away slowly, holding herself in the rain. The billionaire didn't sleep that night. He sat in his study, staring at the ring. It wasn't expensive. It had no jewels, no gold, but it was worth more than all the money in his bank account. It was a piece of the past, a key to something he had lost. The next morning, he asked his assistant to find everything about Anna Thomas. He wanted to know where she lived, what happened after she left the mansion, and if she had any children. By noon, the assistant returned with old files, hospital records, and some photos. He read every page like a man searching for treasure. Anna had died 6 years ago in a small hospital. No family visited her. No friends were listed. But in the hospital records, one line stood out, survived by one daughter, name unknown. The billionaire stared at that sentence for a long time. That poor girl. She was Anna's daughter. But there was one question that wouldn't leave his mind. How did Anna get his mother's ring? He remembered it clearly. His mother had worn that ring every day until the day she died. It had her initials carved inside, L.T. Laura Thompson. She had told him it was a gift from her own mother. He thought the ring was buried with her. So how did Anna get it? And why did she keep it all these years? He picked up the ring and turned it in his hand. His mother's name was still there, carved, inside the silver band. But something else caught his eye, a small crack on the side. He pressed on it gently, and the ring clicked open. Inside, hidden deep in the metal, was a tiny piece of folded paper. His heart pounded as he pulled it out and opened it. The words were written in his mother's handwriting. "If this ring finds its way back to you, then someone truly cared for you. Trust her. She protected this more than anyone else. And if Anna gave it to you, she knew the truth your father tried to hide." The billionaire dropped the ring. His hands covered his mouth. What truth? What had his father hidden? And why was Anna protecting it? The poor girl who gave him the ring wasn't just being kind. She was carrying a message that had been waiting for years to be delivered. He stood up and whispered, "I need to find her." But the streets were wide, and the city was big. Would he be able to find the girl who walked barefoot in the rain, carrying a secret that could change everything he believed? He didn't know yet, but one thing was certain. His life would never be the same again. The billionaire couldn't stop thinking about the girl. The poor girl who walked barefoot into his life, handed him a ring, and disappeared into the night. He stood by the window of his penthouse apartment, holding the small ring in his hand. His heart was heavy. That little piece of metal now meant more to him than anything money could buy. But it wasn't just the ring. It was the note, the memory of Anna, and the message from his mother. All of it pointed to something hidden, something his father never told him. He had to find the girl. The next morning, he called his team. He ordered them to scan the CCTV cameras on the nearby streets. He gave them her description, a poor girl around 19 or 20 with long black hair, barefoot, holding a small jewelry box. "Find her," he said. "Whatever it takes." Hours passed. His assistant returned with video clips. In one of them, the girl was seen walking into a narrow alley. She looked weak, tired and wet from the rain. A few minutes later, she was gone. No one knew where she went after that. The billionaire felt helpless. Search the shelters. Ask people in that neighborhood. I need to talk to her, he ordered. That evening, his driver took him to the same street. The billionaire stepped out of the car wearing simple clothes and a hoodie. He didn't want attention. He wanted answers. He walked through the alley, where the girl had vanished. The ground was muddy. The walls were covered in old posters. He stopped near a broken bench and looked around. A group of children were playing nearby. He approached them slowly. "Excuse me," he said gently. "Have you seen a girl here last night? Long hair, no shoes, very quiet." One little boy nodded. "She gave me her bread last night." "Do you know where she went?" The boy pointed toward a broken building at the end of the alley. "She goes there sometimes, sleeps inside." The billionaire thanked him and walked quickly to the building. It was half broken, with shattered windows and a rusty gate. He stepped inside carefully. It was dark and smelled of damp clothes and old wood. "Hello?" he called out. No answer. He walked slowly up the stairs. His footsteps echoed. On the second floor, he saw something. A thin blanket, a small water bottle, and a plastic bag with some clothes. Someone had been living here. And then he saw her. She was sitting near the window, her back turned, looking outside. Her hair was tied in a loose braid. She didn't move when he entered. She didn't expect anyone to find her here. "Hey," he said softly. The girl turned quickly. Her eyes widened. "You?" "Yes," he said, taking a step forward. "I came to find you." "Why?" she asked, standing up slowly, still unsure. He held out the ring. "Because this changed everything." She looked at the ring, then at him. "I didn't think you'd care. I didn't until I read the note, and then something inside me woke up." He paused. "Your mother, Anna. She meant a lot to me when I was young. I thought she disappeared. But now I know. There's more to the story." The girl lowered her eyes. "She didn't steal anything, that's what they said, right?" He nodded. "That's what my father told me." "She left because she was scared," the girl whispered. "She said they blamed her for something she didn't do. She cried for days, but she never said a word against your family. She just left. And she raised me alone." The billionaire felt a sharp pain in his chest. "I believe you." There was silence for a moment. The sound of rain outside filled the space. "I found something else," he said, holding out the note from inside the ring. "My mother hid this. It says, Anna was protecting the truth, a truth my father tried to hide." The girl's eyes widened. "My mom once told me, if something happened to her, I should give the ring to you. She said it would explain everything." The billionaire took a deep breath. "Do you know what she meant?" The girl shook her head. "No, she never told me." He looked around the dark, broken room. "You can't stay here. Come with me. We'll figure this out together." The girl stepped back. "I'm not asking for anything. I don't want your money." He smiled softly. "I'm not offering money. I'm offering the truth for both of us." She looked at him for a long moment. Then slowly, she nodded. As they walked out of the building together, neither of them knew that the truth waiting for them was darker and more dangerous than they could imagine. But one thing was sure. The past was calling, and it would not stay buried for long. The girl sat quietly in the back seat of the black car. She had never seen such soft seats or clean windows. Her hands were cold, and her eyes kept looking outside, trying to believe this was real. A few hours ago, she was sleeping on a broken floor. Now she was sitting next to the billionaire she had once seen only in newspapers. He glanced at her through the mirror. She looked tired but strong. He admired that. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Lena," she replied, her voice soft. "Lena," he repeated. "That was my mother's middle name." She looked surprised but said nothing. The car reached his mansion. It stood tall and wide, with glowing lights and marble walls. Lena's eyes widened. She had never been near a place like this, but she didn't feel excitement, only nervousness. She was poor, and poor people were not welcome in rich places. She knew that well, but the billionaire, whose name was Daniel, opened the door for her himself. "Don't be afraid," he said. "You belong here more than you know." He led her inside. The servants looked shocked, but no one said a word. Daniel took her to a guest room. Soft bed, warm lights, clean clothes. She didn't know how to act, so she stood still. "Rest tonight," he told her. "Tomorrow, we find the truth." The next morning, Daniel went to his late father's study. It had been locked since the funeral. He had never dared enter it alone. Now something told him the answers were hidden here. He opened the heavy door. Dust filled the air. Books lined the walls, and thick files sat on the shelves. He turned on the lamp and began searching. Papers, letters, family photos. Then he found a locked drawer in the desk. He used the old key hanging from his neck, a key his father had always told him to keep safe. Inside the drawer was a small black folder. On the front was written, "Private, Anna Thomas." Daniel's hands shook as he opened it. Inside were old photos of Anna, one where she stood holding a baby. Her eyes looked tired but proud. The baby was Lena. Behind the photos were legal documents. One of them showed that Daniel's father had once transferred a large amount of money to Anna's account, just days before she left the mansion. The reason? Personal debt settlement. Daniel frowned. Debt? What debt? Then he found a letter, written in his father's handwriting. "Anna knew too much. She was never supposed to see that will. If she speaks, everything will fall apart. I gave her enough money to disappear forever. But if she ever comes back, that ring must never return to this house." Daniel froze. "What will?" he whispered. What was he hiding? Suddenly, he remembered the lawyer, Mr. Holden, who had handled his family's documents for years. That evening, Daniel took Lena with him to meet Mr. Holden. The old man opened the door and smiled in surprise. "Daniel, and who is this young lady?" "This is Lena Thomas," Daniel said firmly. "Anna's daughter." The lawyer's smile faded. "We need to know the truth," Daniel said. "My father paid Anna to disappear. He mentioned a will she saw, a will that could destroy everything." Mr. Holden hesitated. "Daniel, your father warned me never to speak of that again." "He's gone," Daniel said. "I want the truth now." The lawyer sighed deeply and walked to a shelf. From behind a row of books, he pulled out a sealed envelope. "This," he said, "was your grandfather's original will. He died when you were just 5. Daniel opened it and read the first lines. His hands tightened as he reached the middle. "To Anna Thomas, for her loyalty and truth, I leave the apartment in Hillstone and a share of my company, to be passed on to her child." Daniel looked up in shock. He left part of the company. "To Anna's child?" "Yes," the lawyer said. "But your father made me hide it. He feared scandal. He said the public would never accept it. He destroyed the new copy and changed everything." Lena stood frozen. "My mother never told me." "She was protecting you," Daniel said, slowly understanding. "Your mother didn't steal anything. She was the one who was wronged." Tears filled Lena's eyes. Daniel turned to the lawyer. "Is this will still legal?" Mr. Holden nodded. "It was never officially canceled. It can be restored." Daniel stood tall. "Then restore it. She deserves what was stolen from her family." Lena whispered, "Why are you doing this for me?" Daniel looked at her and said, "Because you gave me a ring when I had nothing left, and now I see that ring was my second chance." But as they walked out of the office, a black car across the street slowly pulled away. Someone had been watching, and that someone was not happy. Lena walked through the mansion's long hallway, her fingers brushing the smooth walls. Everything still felt like a dream. She had slept in a warm bed, worn clean clothes, and eaten food that didn't taste like old bread. But even with comfort around her, she couldn't rest. Something wasn't right. Downstairs, Daniel sat at his desk, reading the will over and over again. His grandfather had left part of the company to Anna's child, to Lena. All these years, Lena had lived in the shadows, while others enjoyed the life that was meant for her too. It made his chest ache with guilt and anger. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. A message popped up on the screen. She should have stayed hidden. Daniel frowned. He didn't recognize the number. He called back, but the line was disconnected. He felt a chill down his spine. He wasn't just uncovering family secrets anymore. He was stepping on someone's buried lies. The next day, Daniel and Lena visited the old building where Anna had once worked, the mansion where she had served. She was a caretaker years ago. It was now empty, sold off after his father's death, but the memories were trapped in the dusty corners of each room. Lena walked slowly through the halls. "My mother used to tell me stories about this place," she said quietly. "She said there were people here who smiled to her face, but hated her behind her back." Daniel looked around. "I know the feeling." They entered the library, the heart of the mansion. There, Daniel opened a hidden drawer in the bookshelf. It was a place only he and his father knew about. Inside was a small brown envelope, old and sealed. He opened it and pulled out a photograph. His breath caught. It was a picture of his mother, his father, and Anna. They were standing together, smiling. Anna had a hand on young Daniel's shoulder. "I don't remember this," Daniel whispered. Lena stared at the photo. "My mother said she used to read to you, every night. She said you would hold her hand until you fell asleep." Daniel's eyes grew moist. "Then why did he tell me she stole from us? Because lies are easier than shame," Lena replied softly. Just then they heard a noise, a creak. A shadow moved past the broken window. Daniel rushed out, but no one was there. Just an old van parked across the road. Its engine started and it sped off. Someone had been watching again. That night back at the mansion, the fear became real. A brick was thrown through the front window. Attached was a note. "Stop digging, or she disappears forever." Daniel's guards rushed out, but the street was empty. Lena sat on the couch, shaking. "They know about me," she whispered. "They want to scare me." Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder. "They won't, not while I'm here." But deep inside, even he was afraid now. He called Mr. Holden, the lawyer. "Can you protect the will, legally?" "I'll do what I can," Holden said. "But Daniel, if your father had enemies, they might still be watching everything. Someone is afraid of what this will mean." Daniel hung up. Then he turned to Lena. "We're not safe here. Where can we go?" "To the one place they won't look, the past." The next morning they visited a small town 2 hours away, where Anna had gone after leaving the mansion. They found a woman named Grace who had been Anna's closest friend. Grace opened the door and stared at Lena with wide eyes. "You look just like her." "I'm her daughter," Lena said. Grace invited them inside and sat them down. She poured tea and opened an old photo album. "She told me everything," Grace said. "Your mother never forgave herself for leaving without telling the truth. She thought no one would believe her, but she always hoped Daniel would find out one day." Daniel leaned forward. "Did she ever mention why my father paid her to leave?" Grace hesitated. "Yes, she found a document, a second will. She showed it to him. It proved your grandfather had changed everything, but your father wanted power. He said if she told anyone, she'd be sorry. She was protecting me," Lena said, her voice cracking. "She was protecting both of you," Grace said, "because she loved you, Daniel, like her own son." Daniel closed his eyes. Memories of a woman with gentle hands and warm lullabies came flooding back. That woman was Anna, not a thief, not a liar, but a second mother. As they left Grace's house, Daniel turned to Lena. "I'm going to restore everything. Your name, your place, and your mother's honor, even if it means losing everything I have." But as their car drove away, another black car followed, quiet, distant, watching. The truth was no longer a secret. It was a target. Rain tapped against the windows of the mansion as Lena sat near the fire, holding a blanket around her. She hadn't spoken much since they returned from Grace's house. Her mother's life had been full of pain, secrets, and betrayal. And now, someone wanted to keep that pain buried. Daniel stood by the window, deep in thought. His phone buzzed. Again, another message from the same unknown number. This is your final warning. Leave the past alone. Daniel clenched his jaw. He had faced business rivals, lawyers, and media scandals. But this was personal. Someone from his own world, maybe even from his own home, was trying to silence the truth. He walked toward Lena. We can't stay quiet anymore. The will is real. Your mother's story is real. I won't let anyone erase it again. Lena looked up. Then why does it feel like we're being watched all the time? Daniel didn't answer. He felt it too. Later that evening, Daniel asked his trusted head of security, Marcus, to check the mansion's cameras and phone lines. An hour later, Marcus returned with worry in his eyes. There's something you need to see, he said. He showed Daniel a clip from one of the side cameras away from the night the brick was thrown. The man who did it wore a mask, but his height and walk were familiar. I've seen him before, Daniel said. Zoom in. Marcus zoomed in on the man's hand, a scar across 2 fingers. Daniel's heart dropped. That's Edward. He whispered. Edward was Daniel's cousin, and the one person who had always wanted full control of the family business. The next morning, Daniel didn't tell Lena about Edward. He didn't want to scare her. Instead, he made a plan. Today, he said, we're going to the media. The media? Lena asked. Yes. If we show the truth to the world, no one can hide it again. Lena hesitated. Are you sure? Daniel nodded. My father used fear to control people. I won't do the same. You deserve your voice. They went to a major news station. Daniel handed the anchor the original will, the photo, and a copy of the payment records to Anna. The anchor, a woman named Julia, was shocked. This is huge, she said. Are you sure you want to do this on live TV? Yes, Daniel said firmly. Let the world hear her story. The interview was set for that evening. The channel prepared everything. The documents, the story, the timeline. But someone else was watching too. Back at the mansion, Lena got a call. A trembling voice on the other side said, Leave the studio now, or you won't see him again. What? Who is this? Lena asked, her heart racing. The voice hung up. She called Daniel, but there was no answer. Lena ran out and called for Marcus. Something's wrong. Daniel isn't picking up. Someone just called me and threatened him. Marcus quickly tracked Daniel's phone. It's still at the studio, but not moving. Fear surged through Lena. We have to go. When? They reached the studio. Chaos had already begun. The building was being evacuated. A fire alarm had gone off, but there was no fire. Inside, Daniel sat in the dressing room, coughing. Smoke had filled the hallway, but he had managed to get out just in time. They tried to trap me in, he said. They didn't want the story going live. Lena's hands shook as she held his arm. We need to leave, please. But Daniel shook his head. No, we go live. Now. The studio gave them another room with emergency equipment. Within minutes, the live cameras rolled. Daniel faced the world with Lena sitting beside him. He told everything about his grandfather's will, Anna's story, the stolen legacy, the threats, the lies. Lena showed her mother's photo and held up the ring. The same ring that had started it all. This, Daniel said, is not just a ring. It's a symbol of truth that was buried. But not anymore. Lena's eyes filled with tears. The anchor nodded and said, Thank you, Daniel and Lena. The world has now heard the truth. But as the show ended, Daniel got one more message. You went too far, now I will. His face went pale. Lena asked, What does that mean? Daniel didn't answer, because just then, Marcus ran in. Sir, someone broke into the mansion. Daniel and Lena froze. What did they take? Daniel asked. Marcus hesitated. Nothing, but your office is destroyed. And the photo of Anna? It's gone. Lena covered her mouth in shock. The enemy had a new goal now, to erase every proof that Lena existed. Lena stood silently in front of the broken door of Daniel's office. Glass crunched beneath her feet. Books, papers, and files were scattered everywhere. But what hurt most was the empty space on the wall, where her mother's photo had once hung. Someone wanted to erase Anna's memory. Daniel stepped beside her. His face was tight with anger. They think breaking things can break the truth. Lena looked up at him. But what if they're right? That photo was the only proof my mother worked here. No, Daniel said. You are the proof now. Your face, your story, your mother's love. It's all real, and I'll make sure no one ever forgets it. The next morning, the media buzzed with headlines. Billionaire reveals family betrayal on live TV. Poor girl's ring exposes generational lies. Who is Lena? Mystery daughter claims rightful place. But behind the scenes, danger was growing. Daniel received a legal notice. Edward, his cousin, was challenging the will, claiming it was fake and that Lena was lying. Let them come, Daniel said. I have nothing to hide. Still, tension filled the air. Lena stayed inside most days. The ring never left her finger. She would sit in the garden, whispering to the memory of her mother. I'm not afraid anymore, Mama. Daniel believes me. And the world knows your name now. One day, Daniel walked out to join her. I want to show you something, he said. He led her to the far end of the garden, to an empty space near the roses. This was my mother's favorite spot, he said. But now, I want to build something here, a place in your mother's honor, a statue, a memory that no one can destroy. Lena smiled with tears in her eyes. She would have loved that. And we'll call it the Anna Foundation, to help other children like you, to help voices that were never heard. Lena hugged him tightly. For the first time in years, she felt safe. A few days later, court day arrived. Lena sat in the courtroom, nervous. Edward stood on the other side, confident and cold. He whispered to his lawyer, never once looking at Lena. Daniel took the stand. He spoke calmly, with truth and fire. I was lied to for years. I was told Anna betrayed our family. But the truth is, my father betrayed her. He paid her to disappear. But she never stopped caring for us, especially for me. He turned to the judge. This girl, Lena, is Anna's daughter, and she deserves everything that was stolen from her. Then Lena spoke. Her voice was soft but firm. My mother never had money, but she gave me love. She gave me courage. And she gave me this ring, the last piece of her life. I gave it to Daniel not to gain anything, but because I saw his pain. That moment changed both of us. The judge listened carefully. Edward's lawyer tried to say the will was fake, but Mr. Holden, Daniel's lawyer, stood strong. The signature matches. The documents are original. There is no fraud, only fear of the truth. Finally, the judge gave the verdict. This court recognizes the will as valid. The property left to Anna's child will be honored. The Anna Foundation may move forward. Lena burst into tears. Daniel squeezed her hand. Edward stormed out of the courtroom, defeated. Justice had spoken. Weeks later, the mansion was filled with people again. But this time, not for power, but for peace. A statue of Anna stood tall in the garden. Her face was gentle, her hand reaching down toward a child, just like she had always reached out in life. Reporters stood nearby, recording the opening. Ceremony of the Anna Foundation for Lost Voices. Daniel spoke to the crowd. This woman taught me love, even when I didn't know her truth. This girl, her daughter, gave me a ring, and that small act changed everything. Sometimes the smallest gifts carry the greatest stories. Lena stepped forward. Her eyes searched. The sky. I used to think I had nothing, she said. But I had a mother who gave everything, and I found a brother who believed in me. This isn't just a happy ending, it's a new beginning. The crowd clapped. The cameras flashed. Daniel looked at her and smiled. Welcome home, Lena. As the sun set behind the mansion, it's golden. Light touched the statue's face. The past had been painful, but now the truth had a name, and her name was remembered.